So, my sister's basically been lazy her entire life. Now that she's pregnant, she's demanding to take my brand new BMW. Why does she deserve it? She says she deserves it because she's my sister. I'm 29 male and grew up in a poor family in an ugly neighborhood. If you saw us back then, you would have called us white trash, and we were. Even so, I remember that the first years of my childhood were full of happiness. My older brother, Adam, who's now 33, and I were the best friends in the world. Sadly, the happy times ended when I was around 5 years old, and our mother, Mary, cheated on Dad with another man. Our home broke and the chaos began. Mom and Dad got divorced, they went to court and fought furiously for the custody of my brother and I. Well, Mom won. But our father, David, did not forget about us. He came to visit us every time he was allowed to do so, and sometimes Dad took us to see some cool places when he could afford it. Meanwhile, my mother continued her relationship with this new man, and a few months later she became pregnant with my stepsister Maya, who's now 25. I spent the rest of my childhood and teen years in the same house, same ugly neighborhood, and while I was growing up, I realized something. I did not want to end up like my neighbors, so I always tried to be the best student I could be and started working when I was 14 years old at whatever job I could find, mowing the lawn, walking dogs, and even as the assistant of a carpenter. After the divorce, my father was left on his own and without a penny, but a few years later, Dad began to do slightly better financially. I guess he felt confident enough because he promised me he would pay for the first 2 years of my college, given that my brother Adam decided to go to a trade school and became a plumber. However, I made the decision to attend a community college instead. Took part of Dad's money and invested in some stocks, but I was not done. I started working at a marketing agency. The opportunity came from a friend, and although I did not have the work experience in this field, I knew how to make decent enough designs and was willing to learn. I got accepted and worked there for 2 years, until I made up my mind and chose the risk of leaving and starting my own agency. The first year was rough, but the following years, everything just got better and better. I worked around 50 hours every week. And as I earned more, I considered giving my parents a gift. I bought a small apartment for my mother so she could leave that ugly neighborhood for good. And my father, David, preferred to use money and a long vacation to go see some old castles in Europe. On the other hand, my stepsister could not be more different from me. Our mother and Maya's father, after a turbulent relationship, broke up when Maya was 10. Since then, our mom seemed to start hating all men, including her own son. So, Adam and I became sort of a background character in her life. While she did give all her attention and love to Maya, I strongly believe this caused my stepsister to be a spoiled teenager. A brat, and years later, an incompetent adult. When Mia finished high school, she did not get a job. And how could she? Her only skill was to chat with 10 or more friends at the same time. Our mother kept cleaning her bedroom, washing the clothes, and cooking 3 meals a day for her. Eventually, almost a year later, Mom got tired of her and asked her to get a job or do something productive. So, Maya got a job as a cashier in a supermarket. Each day after work, she would come home and complain about the clients, the boss, and heck, even the co-workers. The pay, and sometimes she would also complain about the smell of the place. A dumb thing, I know, but she used to blame the supermarket's air and the client's behavior on her constant headaches. We had to listen to her daily rants for at least 2 hours. Not surprising at all, she resigned 3 months later, saying the job was too demanding and made her exhausted. Luckily, my stepsister did have a plan B. Maya got a boyfriend, and then another one, and then a few more. Maya's boyfriend cycle went something like this. She met a guy, sadly, a guy dumb enough to not see through her real intentions, who ended up paying for her lazy lifestyle. until the poor man was drained, and they broke up for one reason, such as the guy finally opening his eyes to see my sister demanding behavior, or just getting tired of dealing with Maya's drama queen attitude. And then she would find her a new little ATM. Her boyfriends would usually give her a minimum of $500 a month in cash, and twice. She even moved out with two of them. Those two men paid for everything she wanted, and it was truly unbelievable. Our mother was not disappointed, quite the opposite. I could see some weird pride when she talked about Maya's actions. After a breakup, Maya and Mom had the habit to talk for weeks about the last boyfriend, how ugly and stingy he was in reality. And about that time, Maya asked him to buy her something, and he said no, and how that made him look poor, and she felt ashamed to be around something like that. Mom continuously said my stepsister deserved something better, and encouraged her to find another boyfriend. I believe Maya did not know how to be a real and responsible adult, because our mother just spoiled her too much, kept embracing her attempts to live off of her boyfriend's money. I knew it was not really my business, so my sister's boyfriends and the way she lived her life were not a problem or a concern for me. Until one of them got her pregnant. Then, all of a sudden, I found myself being dragged into Maya's drama and its consequences. Turns out, she and her boyfriend were expecting a baby. But her current guy did not want to be a father, so he tried to persuade her into getting an abortion, saying that an abortion was the right thing to do for the sake of their relationship. My sister refused, and days later they broke up. She was living in his place at the time, so Maya went back to live with Mom. Since the day Maya ended her relationship, our mother started to call me and ask me to lend some money to them. Now that my sister could not get a job in her state, to be honest, I did not think too much about it. I gave them the amount they asked for, a few $100s. It did not bother me because, after all, it was intended for the purchase of vitamins and a doctor appointment. And this was my first mistake. As you can imagine, it did not end there. Every week, like clockwork, Maya or our mother would call me one morning, and by the end of the day, I'd already succumbed and they had gotten my money. They would explain why they need the money while also demanding for it. Their usual excuse for their petition was that I, as Maya's brother, had the moral obligation to, quote, support her in these hard times. My mother would say something like, "I gave birth to you. She's your sister. Your sister needs your help. It does not cost you anything." The thing that I wanted the most after those calls was to not be bothered by them anymore, and I, like a fool, thought the only way to achieve it was to give them money. I was naive, because my now single sister saw me as her new ATM. The situation got worse when I went to visit into the apartment that I've bought, and now they shared, and my sister, by then 5 months pregnant, comes out and shamelessly says, "Hey, you must give me your BMW." As if it was the most casual thing in the world. I could not believe my ears. I said, "What are you saying?" But in my brain, I was thinking, this cannot be serious. Oh man, my crazy sister was not joking. She really thought her pregnancy turned her into a type of person that needed help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, plus the right to claim just free money, although she only worked as a cashier for 3 months in her entire life. Her lame excuse to want my BMW was that she, as a pregnant woman, can't use the bus because the bus rides were difficult and uncomfortable. And, by the way, taxis or Ubers, way too expensive. Granted, yeah, but millions of pregnant women all across the world take the bus and do not demand for their brother's brand new vehicle. And I went to work for years by riding a bus or taking the subway, or heck, even walking. Believe me when I say I did not complain about such a ridiculous thing. I kept working. When Maya stopped talking, our mother began. She sounded as if she was begging me to agree with Maya and just give her my car without asking questions. Because, well, questions could make Maya feel distressed, and that would be bad for the baby. Mom also said I should not have the problems to give away my BMW because I had a job and could just simply buy another one next year. Meanwhile, my sister did not have a job and urgently needed a car. And here we go, Maya's talking again, saying she loved me and repeated what our mother just said. I straight up told them that I thought that they have gone completely mad, and I would not give them my car. I also said I could not believe Maya had the courage to ask me for my car, as if she really deserved it. Well, that's when the real argument began. Maya pulled out the victim card and her drama queen attitude, threatening me by saying I would never meet my niece and she would always remind my niece how bad I treated her mother when she needed this help. She called me a bad uncle several times, and Mom said I should reconsider my decision in life and stop being so selfish with family. And they just kept going back and forth. So I remind them, hey, you're living in my apartment that I bought you as a gift, and recounted how much money I've given them the last few months alone. The quantity was already in the thousands of dollars, and I could not contain myself. I knew they would really hate me for it, but I brought up the fact that Maya ripped off her boyfriends and her 3-month job as a cashier. Maya was dead silent for a moment, and the next second she just started screaming. I do not know if it was for pregnancy hormones or what, but in my life, I've never seen someone act like that. My sister got so angry she looked deranged, and I got to hear some words such as bad brother, and sentences like, I'll never forgive you for saying those things to me. But the rest of her speech was unintelligible, for me at least. Our mother tried to calm her down, and I screamed back at Maya, slob. Maya the slob, Maya the slob, heh heh. My sister hated the truth. The visit was over, and I got out of the apartment and drove my BMW to my house, thinking about what happened and my brother Adam. My brother Adam, he left the house when he was 18 years old and went to live with our father until he found a steady job as a plumber. Made some money and he moved to another city. Since he did that, Adam rarely called our mother, and I sometimes would scold him for it. But as I gave a second thought of her family situation, I had to admit I agreed with him, and my brother just did the healthiest thing for his mental peace. And me being trapped with my sister now, demanding for my own car and an endless quantity of money, I think my brother's a genius. Well, the next morning, she sent me a message saying how sorry and embarrassed she felt by her actions. I didn't even respond. The following day, Maya called me. I did not answer it either. I got extremely tired of playing her in Mom's games. She left me a message asking for money. My sister's behavior was not going to change anytime soon. Maya, throughout the week, sent me a few more messages and voice notes each day. Some of them repeating how sorry she felt, some others about how siblings should stick together no matter what, and the rest of them were literally a list of Maya's reasons to give my car away to her. Well, I ignored all of her attempts to reach me. But she would not leave me alone. 2 days later, when I was leaving my house at 7 o'clock, she appeared in my doorstep. I made another mistake. I opened the door. My sister entered my house, and the rest of my day just got ruined. Like a broken record, Maya repeated what she's been saying, and I've already listened to so many times. According to her, I was being selfish, a bad uncle, and family should not treat each other like I supposedly was treating her by not giving away my BMW. Well, I stood my ground. I also had to repeat myself, but in reality, there was nothing else to say, but I added that she was the one being an awful family member, given that she looked at me not as her brother, but as an infinite money supplier, and I straight up told her she constantly used emotional blackmail, and I was sick and tired of it, and would not give her one more dollar, and any argument or doubt about who was the rightful owner of my car were over. My sister began to cry. I asked her to leave because I had to get to the office. Maybe I treated her too harshly. However, nobody in her life had put my sister in her place before. She did not know that to buy things and get what you want, you have to put in the necessary work. Maya always had our mother handling and giving everything to her. Even when we were little, she treated my sister as a princess who could never do wrong, and well, these were the results of that. Since I was young, I became aware life's not easy, and if I wanted to leave that neighborhood behind me, I had to force myself to be disciplined at work. I spent days working while others preferred not to, and at the end, I got rewarded for it. I deserved it. I made a few compromises with myself, such as no complaints about work and do not waste money. And then 2 promises. I promised I would give a great gift to my parents before I would buy anything too expensive for myself. You may see it as something too extreme, but I saw it as a way to show them how grateful I was for being my parents. Good or bad, they were my parents. This is why I bought an apartment for my mom and paid for my father's dream trip across Europe. After those 2 promises were complete, I bought my own house, and not too long ago, my beloved BMW. I see my Beamer as a symbol of achievement and a congratulation gift to myself. I do not have to give it to a lazy person, even if that person is my pregnant and broken down sister. Maybe she's asking for my car today, but I can bet she would later demand my house or something else. My sister and mother would cry, complain, and say that all the mean things they wanted. But I was not going to put up with all their drama and manipulation or quietly accepting becoming their puppet and provider for the rest of their life. I did what was best for me, and even if they were unable to see it now, and the best to get Maya aware of how the real world works. You do not always get what you want, no matter how much you think you deserve it. Much less you'll get it if you've not earned it. When I got Maya out of my house, I arrived at my office. I had 5 calls from my sister. I ignored every one. I turned off my phone and tried my best to not let it ruin my day. But I could not stop thinking about feeling awful for the behavior of my sister. How can someone be so oblivious? I turned on my phone again around 10 p.m. I had 32 calls from her. I turned off the phone and bought another one and changed my number the next day. Ignoring her was the best decision I could have ever made. I wish I've done it since it all started. I know she had to get tired calling the same day over and over. So guys, I think the only option that OP had in this story is to just cut ties with his sister and unfortunately his mother. Guys, let me know if you would have gone this same route if you were OP and in this position. Drop your comments down below. This story was an intense one. There's still one story left in the video, and the title is, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she can find somewhere else to stay if she can't stand seeing my daughter? I'm 27 female. I have a 5-year-old foster daughter named May. She's been with me for around 8 months now, and I love her to pieces. I'm considering adopting her even. My sister, Kate, recently suffered a miscarriage, and it took a real toll on her marriage. She's getting divorced from her husband and has been staying with me because she can bear to live with him right now. Kate, however, has been a horrible guest to May. Every time May asks her for something or talks to her, Kate will burst into tears or yell at her. Kate's a great sister to me, and I understand that she's grieving, but that does not mean she can lash out at May for simply existing. I've told her off multiple times for yelling at May, but it all came to a head when I confronted her this morning. May had asked Kate if she could move so she could get the snack cabinet. Kate snapped at her to wait for a dang second, you little brat. Well, I overheard from the living room and made Kate move out of the way and told her to apologize to May. That's when Kate burst into tears. saying that she just cannot take having May here as a reminder of what she's lost. I told her she's a grown adult and should know better than to bully a child for her own problems. I told May to go to her room real quick, and Kate and I got into a huge argument. And I ended up telling her if she could not take seeing my foster daughter, she could find somewhere else to stay. She left to our parents' house and told them everything. I've been getting messages from her all day now. She tells me I'm a horrible sister and said that she was grieving and asked how could I put someone else's kid over hers, which I think is a disgusting thing to send anyone. Personally, I think she's being insensitive to me and my daughter's relationship. According to my mom, she's been crying for hours and won't stop talking about how I'm such a monster for not thinking of her feelings. Am I the a-hole? I just don't think she has a right to yell at my kid because she lost hers. Okay, so a social worker actually commented on this video. Let's read it. I'm also a social worker, not with CPS, but I've worked with hundreds of kids in placement. I completely agree with everything you're saying. By the time kids are in foster care, they've likely experienced more trauma than most of us can imagine. You, as a foster parent, are now responsible for working to ensure her physical and emotional safety. Please do not let your sister back into your home. You are not the a-hole for putting your kiddo first. Guys, I could not agree more with that. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here, because we have stories every single day. And I hope I see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day.